Hey everybody, this is GGB. I didn't hit the goal, guys. I did not get there. I'm sorry that I let you guys down. I'm so sad with myself. I'm disappointed. But we did actually have some upsets yesterday, so let's go over them. We obviously the Texas game didn't hit. We had about 4 upsets, if I'm remembering correctly. There were about 4. Memphis upset Houston. USC upset UCLA, Rutgers upset Wisconsin, and then Butler upset Marquette. We almost had a little bit more than that. But we'll start with the American game because it was a pretty huge game for SMU because now SMU's tied for first place in the American Conference with Houston. Houston on a 2-game losing streak, and Memphis gets a huge win that they desperately needed if they want to make the tournament as an at-large team. They needed this win, and they got it. You really couldn't make the tournament without a win over Houston. Houston's obviously the top of the American. It's the standard everyone holds themselves to in the American. And it's the only team that really is credited as being really good in the American Conference. You needed a win over them if you're Memphis, and you got it. So Memphis now has the longest winning streak in the American. Their win actually put them in 3rd place all by themselves. So huge win by Memphis. Really helped out SMU too, by the way. We also got a Big East upset, right? Marquette is upset by Butler, and that causes Marquette to fall drastically, going from 3rd place to 5th in the matter of a day. Now, this could change, right? Because UConn plays today, so this could be a little bit different if you're looking at it, but there's not a huge difference. Butler also gets a huge win because if you're looking at it and you're Butler, we're going to go over it a little bit later, but now you have a 2-game lead, 2 games in the win column, 1 game in the loss column ahead of DePaul. So you're not too worried about DePaul catching up. Now you still have a game against DePaul. DePaul obviously played really well. They took Providence, the best team in the Big East, into overtime. They only beat them by 3 points. So obviously DePaul's not a team to tread lightly on. The only team that really is really bad in the Big East is Georgetown, but even DePaul has some redeeming characteristics, and you got to be worried about it. But huge win for Butler. Huge loss by Marquette. Marquette's definitely going to be watching the UConn St. John's game and hoping for definitely a certain outcome. We'll go over that a little bit later on in the episode. Big Ten, obviously huge loss by Wisconsin. Wisconsin loses to Rutgers at home. Rutgers goes to Wisconsin and wins their 3rd straight win over a top 25 basketball team. And you're looking at Rutgers. They stood a 15-9 record. And down the stretch, you have also some really tough games. I thought it would get easier. It does not get easier for Rutgers. They have, on Wednesday, they get Illinois at home. And then they travel next Sunday on the road against Purdue. And then they go to Michigan, and they go get Wisconsin at home again, and then you have to travel the road against Indiana. This is not an easy schedule for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights by any means. You're going to actually likely have to win 5. It's going to be really tough. It's definitely going to be a tough stretch to go if you're Rutgers, but you get a huge win over a very good Wisconsin team on the road. You sit at 9-5 in conference. Michigan loses, so that gives you more wiggle room. And now you're only 1 game back from Ohio State. I mean, you could not have asked for a much better day outside of Ohio State also losing than Ohio State and Michigan State losing. So I guess you could ask for a better day. But if you're a Rutgers fan, you're really excited about where you are. And if you're Wisconsin, you're a little bit disappointed because now you're tied for 2nd. And Illinois plays today, so we'll see how that works out for the Fighting Illini. But if Illinois wins that game, they're in 1st place in the Big Ten. So pretty significant loss for Wisconsin. It's going to be a little bit heartbreaking looking back on a game that you could have likely had if you're a Badgers fan. And then finally, we had a Pac-12 upset. USC upset UCLA. UCLA falls to 9-4. And this day could have been a lot worse for UCLA if certain things didn't go their way. If Oregon doesn't lose to Cal in an upset that not a lot of people saw coming, UCLA is way farther down this list. If Washington beats Arizona which was an unlikely scenario, but nonetheless, they would have passed UCLA. So despite UCLA losing this game, a pretty crucial game, they still only fall to third place and only one game back in the win column behind USC. And on the other hand, USC picks a huge, much-needed win to boost their resume, because right now they were on the bubble, right? They did not have a quality win. Now they finally do have a quality win over a good Bruins team. And then I'd like to take a little bit out of the time that we have here today to talk about two teams that I think are worth mentioning. And one of them, to be fair, there's probably a lot of teams out there like this, but there's two teams that I feel like are worth mentioning, and one's in the ACC. And I'd like to give a lot of props to these two teams. The first one is Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, I understand it's not a top 25 team, and it hasn't been playing top. I mean, like, I shouldn't be talking about it by my own rules about how these episodes normally go, but I feel like it's worth mentioning. Virginia Tech was dead in the water not 2 weeks ago. They sit at 2-7 in conference, the bottom two in the conference, next to Georgia Tech and NC State. And then they go on a 5-game winning streak. They've won 5 in a row, guys. And now, to be fair, it hasn't been against stellar competition. Ever since that heartbreaker against Miami, though, they've beaten Florida State, they beat Georgia Tech, they beat Pitt twice in a row, and then they beat Syracuse today. Now, again, I'm not saying that's the best competition in the ACC, but you're going to get the gauntlet soon if you're Virginia Tech, and you're going to be tested. You play Virginia on Monday, a very good Cavaliers team. You play the Tar Heels next Saturday. You play Miami the Saturday after that. You play... That's it. Those are the tough teams. You should have a win against Georgia Tech. Louisville should also be an easy W, and so should Clemson. So those are your two tough games. If you can win those 2 games in a row, you're looking at a different... I mean, this is a different Virginia Tech team that's playing with so much different energy. I mean, it's legitimately crazy to think about that this ACC team that was not good. They were not good just a couple of weeks ago. They were horrible. Now they're suddenly back in the ACC race, and you're looking at them as a possible bubble team. They're 14-10, guys. They win their last 5 games, or 6 games, they could be 20-10 heading into the ACC tournament. This is a team that is very hot right now, that has fought their way back into it. And if you're also going to talk about a team that has fought their way back into it, back into this race that is the Big 12, I mean, you're looking at it, Kansas State has done a phenomenal job. Despite not having a very, very good overall record, Kansas State now sits in 6th place in the Big 12 over teams like Oklahoma, West Virginia, Iowa State, all teams that are likely tournament teams outside of West Virginia, I guess, and Oklahoma as well. But, like, Kansas State has gotten themselves back into the race, and Kansas State has been playing some pretty good basketball outside of their weak spot, which is playing Baylor. I get that. They don't play Baylor very well. They've won 3 out of their last 4. Their only loss was to Baylor. They've beaten Oklahoma State, TCU, and Iowa State. Again, not the top-level Big 12 competition, but they have beaten the top-level Big 12 competition. They have wins over Texas Tech and Texas. They are a blown lead away from having a win over Kansas. I mean, outside of Baylor, they've shown they can compete with any of the top 5 Big 12 teams. This is an insane Wildcats team that is only getting better as the season goes on, and you're looking at it down the stretch. They have some chances to prove themselves. They should get wins against West Virginia and Oklahoma State. Now, don't count those as victories. Obviously, any team in the Big 12 is going to be tough, but I think those are very winnable basketball games. And then you go down, there's a stretch of 3, right? You play number 8 Kansas on the 22nd at Kansas. You play Iowa State at home on the 26th, and you go on the road to number 9 Texas Tech on the 28th. So obviously that's going to be a tough thing, but if you can win those 3 games, if you go undefeated down this stretch of 6, you could be a 20-10 basketball team. And just like I was saying about Virginia Tech, suddenly you're being looked at as a team that can go and to the tournament. I mean, it's a crazy scenario for the Kansas State Wildpack, but they have fought their way back into this thing. Anyways, let's go over what we have today. We have 3 games on Super Bowl Sunday, guys. 11 o'clock, we number 24 UConn, which is at 16-7. Traveling to St. John's, which is at 13-10. UConn favored by 3.5 points on Fox. 12 o'clock, we have Maryland, which is at 11-13. Traveling number 3, Purdue, which is at 21-4. Purdue favored by 16 points on CBS. And at 1 o'clock, we have Northwestern, which is at 12-10. Traveling number 13, Illinois, which is at 17-6. Illinois favored by 9.5 points on the Big Ten Network. So let's talk about the Big East standings for a second. So UConn sits in 3rd place, right? And a tie for 3rd place, technically speaking, with Creighton. Both sit at 7-5 in conference. UConn with a win can move to 8-5 in conference and move into 3rd place all by themselves. UConn with a loss can fall to 7-6, which would mean Creighton would move into 3rd place all by themselves. Marquette would move back into 4th place, and UConn would fall into a tie for 5th place with Xavier. So that's how that's working out. St. John's is to lose. They could fall to 5-8. Still 1 game in the loss column better than Butler, but Butler would be very close to passing St. John's. So big game for St. John's as well. St. John's with a win can move to 6-7 and into a tie with Seton Hall for 7th place in the Big East. So that's what's going on in the Big East. That's what happens with some wins and losses. Maryland. So let's go over the Big Ten real quick because that's the last conference we have. We'll start with Illinois because that's the top team. Illinois with a win stays in 1st place, obviously. Illinois with a loss falls to 10-4 and into a 3-way tie for 1st with Purdue and Wisconsin. Purdue, on the other hand, though, if they beat Maryland and Northwestern upsets Illinois, I take it back. Purdue moves into 1st place at an 11-4 record, and Illinois ties for 2nd with a 10-4 record with Wisconsin. Now, as Purdue is to lose their game, they would fall to 10-5. And if Illinois was to lose, they'd be in a tie for 2nd place with Wisconsin. Now, 10-5, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is still a better record than Michigan State's 9-4. That would be 9 out of 13 basketball games. That might be actually close. That's barely better, so never mind. I take it back. If Purdue loses this game, 10-5 would cause them to fall into 4th place. So not even 3rd place, into 4th place. Michigan State would move into 3rd. Maryland with a win can move to 4-10 in conference play. That would move past Minnesota, and Maryland would move into 13th. It would be they would move into 12th place out of their 13th spot. Northwestern, on the other hand, with a win can move to 6-8. Only 2 games back in the loss column from Iowa. Northwestern with a loss would fall to 5-9. Only 1 game in the win column ahead of Penn State. So to break it down for you, if you're an Illinois fan, big fan of Maryland to start out, just so you have a little bit of wiggle room. If you're a Wisconsin fan, would love a Purdue loss and an Illinois loss today. I would move you into a tie for 1st place only with Illinois. If you're a Michigan State fan, would love a Purdue upset. That would move you into 3rd place. If you're a Penn State fan, would love a Northwestern. I would love an Illinois win here. If you're a Minnesota fan, you would like Purdue to win that one. And if you're a Penn State fan, would love Purdue to win that one as well. Anyways, that's what's going on in the Big Ten. Time for my pick. I think it's pretty obvious here. I don't think Maryland is even close to the level that you would need to compete with Purdue. Now, we have seen Purdue struggle against inferior teams. They struggled against Penn State. But it's been a hot second since they've struggled with a team like that. They did struggle with Michigan this week, but I think Michigan's a pretty solid basketball team. So I don't think that's going to happen. Northwestern, they have the talent there to beat Illinois, but Illinois is such a good basketball team. I just don't see it happening. Now, I think UConn is a significantly better team than St. John's. Don't get me wrong there. I do think that this is a unlikely upset, but this would be 7 straight days with an upset, guys. So just pretty dang impressive if we could keep that streak alive. I would love to keep it alive. So I just have to go with St. John's. I think they have the best chance of pulling off the upset. I don't think it's very likely, but I do think that's what's going to happen. Hey, everybody, this is GGB saying adios, amigos. and go Red Storm.